Hello, and today we are going to be talking about Tesla and why it isn't just the only electric car company. So, people oftentimes, one of their complaints about electric cars is the price. And sure, if you go with the more expensive brands, yes, you'll be looking at 30 grand, 50 grand, upwards to over 100 grand. But here's the key thing. Those are with companies like Tesla. If you go with different companies, and there are different companies available, you can get electric cars for, 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand. And while, yes, those cars they won't be as good as their counterparts in the price range when it comes to petrol and diesel. But the point is, you still do get an electric car for that price. So while yes, you are getting slightly a worse deal when it comes to the inside, you are still getting an electric car for a cheaper price than what you might imagine. That brings us to the second point, Tesla's car making abilities. So one of the issues that Tesla has is that it's all about the software. So that's why Teslas are, quite, advanced when it comes to the things on the inside. They have all the bells and whistles, except here's the problem. They do have a feature that locks you into the car. So unfortunately, what that means is, let's say you're in an accident, you can't get out of the car. Yeah, you can imagine why that can cause problems when you pair that with a battery that tends to explode. That's the issue with saying to a car company that, it's not have much experience in actually making cars, can you make a car? And they go, well, we can make you some software to put in a car that it'll work, but will it be safe? And that, of course, is the problem. When you look at Teslas, are they safe cars when you're driving them? Yes, but the issue arises when there is an accident. Because when there is an accident, instead of just being like, and going to hospital for your injuries, instead you die in a roaring inferno after the battery explodes and causes a lot more damage than if a fuel tank would explode. And that, of course, is the difference between a Tesla and a petrol diesel car. If you have this sort of situation in which you are trapped in a roaring inferno, and this roaring inferno is worse than a petrol diesel explosion, the problem arises there. So that's why you have this issue, and the issue does tend to, you do tend to think about it and go, well, we might need to think about alternatives to Tesla, because oftentimes people they look at the likes of Tesla and they just go, no, those ones are too expensive. People for years were like, Tesla, could you possibly make a cheaper car? Because currently, the cheapest I can get your car for is like 30 grand. So that's a lot of money. It's almost that's almost the level that you can put that down as a deposit for a house. So if you have that money, you probably, you're probably not going to need to really worry that much, and that's the point. So they want to make a very much cheaper car. As of this taping, they did not. And even if they had, the point would still stand that there are other companies out there that are making cheaper electric vehicles. Now, of course, where are they? There are multiple types. There are electric car companies that make ones for 20 grand, 10 grand, and even as low as 5 or 2 grand. Now, sometimes these electric cars might be, somewhat bad, is what I'd say. The lower you go down, the less value for money you're getting, except, of course, that the car is still fully electric. So you see that. Now, sometimes these brands won't be the most reputable, and it can be difficult to get these cars at times, but the point is, they are still available out there to get. You're looking at your various car types there, both new and old. It used to be the case that you wouldn't be able to buy a second-hand electric car. Now that's changing as the years pass by. There are more and more second-hand electric cars coming onto the market. That means, of course, that while the car may have cost you 30 grand originally. 2 years later, it might have dropped down to 20, and a car that was sold at like 20 grand, that might drop down. So the point is, there are other options available. And then, of course, we have to talk about Tesla's history as a company, which is not very nice to its employees. You know, anti-union and also anti-class action lawyers. I would find that concerning, because that means if the product is faulty, that they're against them paying out for the faulty product, which is very dodgy. And that's the sort of thing you have there, where you're like, yeah, Tesla is anti-union and anti-class action lawyer. So if they're anti-union, that probably doesn't make their workplace the best one to be in. So yeah, basically that's a little short video on Tesla. Maybe I'll make a bigger video later on. But the point is, for now, I would say to people, there are other electric car companies than Tesla, and you can buy from them. Prices will be cheaper. You might even get better value, to be honest. And they'll also be safer when the car does become faulty. Goodbye.